Perfect. Perfect. It's 11:05, so let's just get started with the session. I believe everyone's here. So, hello everyone. My name is Aryaman Singh, and I am a member of the AZR Youth Council. I work with Natasha, Arithi, and and Yash as well, and we organize events for the AZR group. We recently organized the summer tutoring session we paired up tutors and students and helped them learn multiple things and such as computer science, physics, astronomy, mathematics, and that was very successful. So now this is our second session, which is the college counseling session, and we estimate this to be around 90 minutes. So please make the best of this opportunity. If you're a parent or a student, make sure to ask your questions. These panelists are here for you, and they're here to answer your questions and also inform you about the college process. So if you have any questions about the college applications, about testing, they've been through all of it, so they know how all of this works. And yeah, make sure to ask any questions, any clarification questions, because they're here for you, and you want to make the best of this opportunity. Perfect. Next slide, please. So each panelist, can you please go through all these 5 questions in any order, whoever wants to go first. Just answer the question so all the audience knows who you are and what you have to offer.
I can go first. So my name is Preeti Singh, and we're actually from Chicago. And my daughter is Maya. Maya, she wants to go to either UIUC, which is University of Illinois, Chicago, or UIC, which is University of Illinois, Chicago, rather. She's also thinking of doing pre-med at SLU. And I was thinking, if she wanted to apply to Toledo, also, that would be a nice way to go for pre-med. I think they have like an 8-year program where, oops, sorry. I think they have an 8-year program where after 2 years, you can give your MCAT and, you're guaranteed a seat for med school. So I thought that was a good way to, do instead of, look for a college after 4 years, med school after 4 years. So she loves psychology, and she was thinking of pre-med and psychology. So that's one of the things that she was interested in. She loves to swim. She's in the swim team in her high school. She's been on it, junior varsity. Hopefully she was planning to make varsity this year. That's about us.
Well, thank you so much. But the question was for the panelists specifically, not just the audience. So
sorry.
It's all good, but thank you so much for sharing that. So could the panelists, so Yash, Nikhil, and everyone else, could you guys go through all these 5 questions and introduce yourself to the audience here? Nikhil, we can start.
Yeah, I could start off. So my name is Yash Singh. This will be my first year in August at Arizona State University, Barrett, the Honors College. I'm going to be majoring in computer information systems, which is like a combination of business and computer science, kind of incorporating that all into like one thing. And in the future, I kind of wish to pursue like financial technology. So combination of like computing and data science principles with like finance strategies with like stock trading, money lending, and like multiple other services. And a fun fact about me is like I've ventured through like 10 states in the United States.
I can introduce myself next. My name is Sarthak. I'm from New Hampshire. I'm going to Wentworth.
Hey, Sarthak, we can't really hear you. You could speak up.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
I think it's probably because you connected to your AirPods.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
A little better, but just like just maybe speak a little louder.
So my name is Sarthak. I'm going to Wentworth Institute of Technology. I'm going to be majoring in mechanical engineering, and in the future, I plan on pursuing or want to pursue nuclear engineering and somewhere in the field of nuclear science. And a fun fact about me, I love to swim. I love astronomy. all that.
That's very cool. Nikhil, do you want to go next?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting my screen. Thank you for everyone for coming in today and hearing out our panel. My name is Nikhil Singh. I went to Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. I majored in psychology there. I'm pursuing my PhD in clinical psychology right now, and I hope to open up my own practice in my native town of Phoenix, Arizona, and just serve the general community here. And a fun fact about me is that I've never watched or seen any of the Harry Potter movies or Star Wars movies. I was getting made fun of it for it.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Ritika, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Rithika. I went to Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee. I double majored in neuroscience and child development. Right now, I'm a fourth year at Lewis Katz School of Medicine at Temple and going into family medicine, so applying to residencies right now. And a fun fact, I fell on a cactus when I was younger. Do not recommend.
Perfect. And finally, Devanshi, do you want to go?
Yeah. My name is Devanshi. I went to University of Arizona and I did a bachelor's in molecular and cellular biology. And now I'm doing a master's in computer science at ASU. And I wish to do cybersecurity in the future. And a fun fact about me is I used to live in New Zealand.
Thank you so much. So I think we should. What was that?
Oh, I just said nice.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I think we should proceed with the session now. So Nikhil, if you want to go ahead and start that off.
Yeah, so Natasha will be facilitating the session with the different questions that people submitted in advance, and she'll just be directing it to the panel members that she sees fit. So I'll let her take that away.
All right, perfect. If you guys have any questions, could you please text them to me or text them in the chat? Nikhil, could you move the slideshow as well? All right. So these are some questions as well for the college application process. So if you guys have any extra questions, you guys can just text them in the chat. Who would like to go first? I can ask these questions. So what should these students focus on while applying to schools?
I would say when applying to schools, kind of focus on, kind of do some research on the school and what they kind of look for in an applicant and like kind of what their kind of like mission statement is.
Okay.
And especially for whatever specific school you're applying to or major you're applying for, like, write your essay accordingly. So like I was applying to NYU, to the Stern School of Business, and they're really like business oriented, leadership oriented, and they offer like a multitude of programs related to that too. And they're also like really into study abroad programs. So when I was writing my essays, I kind of focused on the leadership stuff I've done and try to tell them I'm interested in pursuing and taking advantage of their like study abroad programs. So that's just one example.
Oh, thank you so much. What tips do you have for those who are soon going to college? For anyone who has graduated college or are still in it, what tips do you have for those who are about to go? It could be something as small as like, oh, you should bring this to your dorm, or you should use this app for professors.
I would suggest like you really like talk to your college counselor a lot and check in with them like every semester. they're gonna help you a lot with like graduating like maybe early and like pretty much just like any basic tips that you need. So yeah, like I kind of regret not doing that the first year. Like I wish I talked to them more.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Anyone else?
I think also just like particularly for me transitioning into college, you're the way you study is going to change and that's okay. And like figuring it out, you'll figure it out as it goes on, but it's okay to like take a second and figure out what's worked for you in high school or what's working for you in college or what's not working and kind of adjusting as the years go on. So it's okay if you don't get it right off the bat.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I think one thing I'll say too is really explore your financial aid opportunities. It's not just the FAFSA. There's a lot more that's happening with that. You should really look into how your financial aid status interacts with any scholarships you're applying to, and how either or can deem you ineligible for the other. So not only FAFSA, but then also go through like your college counselor that's more versed about the financial aid process and see how you can be eligible for things that you never considered before. And also making that cost benefit analysis as you're weighing schools that are a little bit more expensive versus in-state schools.
All right. Should we move on? All right. What do you regret not doing that would have helped during this time? So if you wish that you did more research, or you wish that you did more extracurricular, or you wish you applied to more schools, is there anything?
One thing I guess I would kind of regret is not having more more face time with certain teachers that like I was really fond of, because the more relationships you develop with your teachers, the more likely you are to get like a recommendation from them. And for many colleges, like letter of recommendations are pretty important. So like for me personally, I still had like pretty good teachers mind give me letters of recommendation, but some teachers that I was more fond of, I couldn't really get them because I hadn't like full developed a relationship with them on a full status. So like just get as much time as you can, communicating with your teachers and kind of helping them get to know you so they can write you the best LOR possible.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any regrets they have during the college application process?
I'd like to add something, if you don't mind. So one thing that I personally regretted was, and obviously I don't know if anyone else has dealt with it, but you want to manage your deadlines for applications. And that means if you're like going for like early application deadlines or early decision deadlines, what I did was I did not ask my teachers for recommendation letters early enough. And it was kind of stressful getting those because I didn't manage my time well. So that's something I wish I did better. But I did get everything I needed to in, but it was very stressful. So to make it less stressful, I'd recommend managing time slightly better and like having everything planned out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Any more?
I think one last thing I'd add is that I wish I sort of scheduled and kind of planned around my senior year a little bit better, in that, like what Sarthak said, really importantly about making sure your schedule's aligned with your deadlines, but also like being able to like take time out of school to be aggressively pursuing your passions, whether it be, psychology like myself or fintech like Yash, because those are things that, you're very passionate about. And that's something not only can you write about, but then also it's something you can really work on because you have more time. You're not as focused on school, and whatever's happened has happened. So a mix of like what Sarthak said of like planning, and then also being able to like, since you plan, you can really pursue the things that you're very passionate about, and that can just translate as you get into college.
Perfect. Thank you so much. What advice do you wish someone told you that would have furthered you in this process? I feel like we already covered that. Or if anybody has an answer to that, that'd be great. Any extra tips? All right. You can move on to some of the questions in the chat and some other questions as well. So do you have any tips on writing a common apps essay?
I could answer something of my own. So I know that last year the Common App offers you 7 different prompts. That I'm not sure if that's the correct number, but there's a variety of different prompts. And I think one of them is you can pick your own prompt too. But they give 7 pre-made prompts. So the one that you pick, I would recommend that you pick one that you know that you can tie both academically and I guess emotionally. You want to make sure that obviously this advice I got from other people when I was writing my Common App essay, and it was that they told me to make sure to create personal connections and academic connections throughout the essay and really make it like tie in with your life so that and it's related personally to you and to the field that you want to pursue going into college and the future. So I'd recommend that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Is there anything you should do different when it comes to extracurriculars when applying if you want to go into engineering?
I'd say not necessarily. You should definitely do stuff kind of related to what you want to major in, but you should also kind of like do other things to just explore your interests. And so when you apply to colleges, they can see like you're more of a well-rounded student. So you're not just like kind of into one thing, but you're into like everything that they have to offer. Though like specifically, you're probably into your like whatever engineering field you want to go into. So that kind of helps you stand out more as an applicant.
Perfect.
Sorry, just one other thing for like the common apps essay. Make sure you get like 2 or 3 people to just proofread your application. So it's not just like you writing it and sending it in. Just make sure you get someone else to take a look at it.
Thank you so much. Should I ask for recommendation letters at the start of my senior year?
I mean, you can ask for recommendation letters based on your deadlines, I'd say. So the first early application deadline is an early decision too, I think, is November 5th is what I remember. So you want to make sure that you ask your teachers or teachers that you've decided to ask, because every college has different number of recommendation letters that they allow. So some schools might just be 1, some schools might be 10. So you want to make sure you have them planned out and ask them a month or a month and a half or whatever it is in advance, because teachers also have to prepare for classes during their year. Like, you know, they're writing recommendation letters and creating a curriculum for whatever they're going to teach throughout the year. So you want to make sure they know that they're going to have to write your letter. And once you do add them or like email them about wherever they're supposed to submit their recommendation letters, like our school, like my high school had a separate like software and everything where they had to submit their recommendation letters. But I'd keep emailing them as the deadline gets closer to remind them, and so that they don't forget, because that happened to a couple of my friends where some of their letters just never got sent because the teachers forgot about them. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I think another thing I'll add to this too, it sounds really obvious, but trust me, it makes all the difference. Someone who's gone through college sort of applications and as well as PhD applications, being very emphatic and straightforward about how you ask for letters of recommendation can make all the difference. So you have to literally ask, can you write me a strong letter of recommendation? It sounds aggressive, but there's nothing worse than a mediocre letter of recommendation. That will definitely keep you out of schools that you find. So even though if it might be out of your comfort zone, you really have to ask, like, hey, like, if you're not comfortable writing a strong letter of recommendation, please tell me and I'll go to someone else, because it comes out. These people reading thousands of letters of recommendation, they can tell who strongly endorses people versus someone who's kind of like, kind of doing it because they were asked. So please keep that in mind.
I'd actually like to add something to what Nikhil said for the rec letters. So like, yeah, obviously you wanna be straightforward and like really you'd be like, can you please write me a rec letter? And another thing, I don't know if it's not obviously required. If you have a good relationship with a teacher and they know you, you don't really need to do this. But what I did was I created like a little Google Doc and I put down what school they're writing the rec letter for, obviously, what I'm majoring in, all of my like extracurriculars. You want to have like a little, like almost like a resume type, but like not a resume. Like you want to have a list of everything you're into and what you want to do and what you're all about, so that they can really put things in your rec letter and say good things about you. Because like if you don't tell them, right, they're not going to put it in. But if they know about it, they will. So you want to make sure they get those in there, because you're going to waive your FERPA rights, which is a thing you'll do in the Common App. So you can't edit or look at your rec letter. So you want to make sure that everything that's in there is like the best about you. So I'd send them that along with the request to write a rec letter.
Yeah, also just continuing this because this seems to be really important to me as well, because letters make all the difference. Also being open about your essays that you've constructed, sharing that with them so they can understand your narrative and your story as to why you're planning to do certain colleges. And also, if you have a college that's high on your list, your rank list, also let them know that so that they can maybe tailor that especially well. Because like they're only gonna write one letter for all your colleges, but if you let them know like, hey, so and so is my top choice, if you can really like take a moment to take in the program, what the mission statement is and how I align with it, that maximizes your chances of getting into that program. So all that information, more information for them, the better, and increases your chances. So
All right. And then thank you so much, Nikhil. Any tips for prepping for standardized tests like the ACT and SAT?
Yeah, so for me, like what helped was doing a lot of practice tests for it. Like I took a class the summer before my junior year for it, and I thought that helped a lot. But pretty much like every day in the class, like we just would do a practice test, and just like doing the testing process over and over helped for me. Like I know like it's 3 hours long, like each time, and it can be like a lot, but that helped the most for me. And then also like I got a vocab book for the SAT and ACT. Like there was a lot of like vocabulary that like I'd never like learned before, but then it came up on the SAT, and that helped me a lot with like getting a lot of questions right for like reading and writing.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Anybody else?
Yeah. So like I was in a similar class, Devanshi, where we just like take practice tests all the time to kind of help ourselves. But another thing I've heard from a lot of people is using Khan Academy, because if you have taken the PSAT or if you've already taken the SAT once, they come up with like a personalized course for you where they're able to offer help in the areas you're really struggling with, which makes it much easier to learn. And I've heard like people go from like 1200s to 1400s by just using Khan Academy and like all their resources. Another thing that I think is important is determining which exam is better for you, like the SAT or ACT. So for me personally, like I just started off, I just took the SAT and I didn't do as good as I wanted. But then I learned about the ACT. Well, and then I took like a diagnostic to just see how I do, and I saw that my performance was much better on the ACT. So what I'd recommend is first just like take a diagnostic of both SAT and ACT and see which one is better for you. Because like SAT gives you more time, but like less questions, and then ACT gives you less time, more questions. And I found that like it was easier for me for the ACT, because I think like, for example, for their grammar portion, they have like 45 minutes for 75 questions, like something around that. And that was just easier for me to go through compared to the SAT. So definitely like run a diagnostic first to see which one you're better at.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Some other questions. There are some questions in the chat as well. There's one person who asked. I'm not sure. So I don't see the applications open yet. When do they usually open?
I think applications usually open around August, like maybe August 1st or sometime after that. But for now, what you should do is like kind of look into what the colleges you want to apply to specifically want. Like what kind of details they want. Like if you took AP scores, some of them only want like specific APs. Like for NYU, I know they wanted one from humanities, one from STEM, and then one of your choice. So like they wouldn't take all the AP scores you've like all the AP exams you've taken, just like 3 specific ones. And other colleges have different requirements. So right now you should just be like checking those out.
Perfect. All right, so here's some questions.
I'd like to add something to the applications question. So like Yash said, the Common App opens August 1st. They like reset everything. So like one part about the Common App though, I'd recommend is that there's a lot of personal information you have to fill out. That includes like family information, just personal like name, where you live, addresses, all of that. It takes about 30 minutes to fill out the entire form, not the applications part where you start writing essays. But if you want to save yourself some time, when the when the Common App resets, all of that information saves. So if you want to save yourself like 30, 40 minutes from filling that out, when you do your applications, just fill it out now. When the Common App resets on August 1st, all of that will still be there, but you can get straight to your applications. So you won't have to waste time on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I have a question here. There's some questions actually. So what's the scope of doing psychology in college? My daughter loves psychology, but doesn't want to be a psychologist who sits and listens to people's problems all day. Would pre-med be a good option?
Okay, I think I'll have to take this one. I think the scope of psychology in college is the most popular major across universities. I think with just a psychology degree, and I think this might be the case with a lot of just standalone majors, it's not very marketable, so you're not really going to be able to go be a professional or go get a job with just your major in college. I think what I'd encourage this individual to do is psychology is like being a psychologist is not just sitting there listening to people's problems. There's a lot more going on there. So I'd encourage them to, if they want to do pre-med, then I think Ritika can definitely elaborate upon this, but if you want to do pre-med with like a mental health focus, then it necessitates that you're a little bit more inclined to like the biological kind of mechanisms and physiological stuff, because you have to learn the med school stuff, but then also how does that interact with pharmacologics and stuff like that to help that patient. Whereas psychology is more psychosocial therapy, talking it out. So I think the last thing I'll say for this individual is wherever they're going to college, try to interact with the psychology department, see what the faculty are doing, see their research, how they pursued their respective fields. They'll also be serving as psychologists, so they'll have a practice as well as being a faculty member oftentimes. But if you want to do pre-med, then also, look at maybe a neighboring med school, how psychiatry is there. Ritika, is there anything else you want to add to someone maybe as a pre-med with a mental health focus?
No, I mean, you basically got it. I think if you want to do pre-med, then yeah, you would be focusing more on like wanting to do psychiatry later on than to being a psychologist. But yeah, basically everything you said. Also, I just think like in general, I don't know if this is the question, but like for when you do apply to med school, a lot of them aren't like thinking, oh my God, you have to have a pre-med major, or you have to have something that's like biology related or like psychology related. It can really be anything as long as you take the required medical school courses. And as long as you like show like your past passion for whatever major, as well as medicine with like other things that you're doing, like volunteering at hospitals or like taking extracurriculars related to medicine. So I don't think there's really any like, it's not going to close off doors for you if you choose a different major.
Yeah, and psychology and pre-med will work great. Like you can do psychology major, take the classes, get to know what the field's about, the subfields like clinical psychology, social psychology. And if you want to do research, you can do psychiatric research where you're doing what psychiatrists do, or like work at a hospital in a psych ward or something like that. So that's what I'd encourage this individual to do.
Okay, thank you so much. Perfect. So what if I don't know what I'm interested in? And I don't know what I want to major in college, even though I've explored multiple options and majors?
One thing I'd say is kind of do as many extracurriculars that your school offers, because I found that like, doing a variety of different extracurriculars in different kind of like sort of fields could help you develop your interest. Like for me personally, I joined this club called Launch X, where I had no idea what it was going in on the first day, but it was like kind of like an entrepreneurship club. And by the end of the year, I was really interested in it. And that kind of got me interested in the whole business aspect. And then like, with further research, I was able to kind of determine I was interested in like fintech and how it's like very entrepreneurial and just going into like the business CS field.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Where and how to get scholarships and write good college essays? Any tips for scholarships?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No, it's fine. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, so for scholarships, there's like a variety of places you can find them. There's like multiple websites like Scholarships USA, I think, but some specific programs I know of were I think it's called the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards. So if you guys are really into like volunteering and just like doing nonprofit kind of work, there's this like award committee that you can apply from via your school or like YMCA or something. And that gives you like, I think, $5,000 if you get like first place in there. Another thing is the Equitable Excellence Scholarship, which is kind of important for like leadership and community service. And that can offer you a lot of scholarship money too. I think it's $10,000 per person. And it's one person per state. And then if you're like a semifinalist, you can get like $2,500. And all these ones are like renewable. So like you get them for up to 4 years. And then the final one I did, if anyone was looking into ASU, was the Leadership Scholarship Program, which it just like if you were really into like leadership and you have much experience with that, like leadership clubs or just leaderships and like committees, they can give you up to $10,000 a year for 4 years. And that's currently the program I got into and what I'm pursuing. And I think it's very interesting because I've got to meet like a lot of people like in the years above me and in my same year. So those are just a few I know of.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Nika also just, I think, dropped a website in the chat as well.
Sarthak, you wanted to say something? Go for it.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, there's obviously great websites and other like third-party sites that offer scholarships. And I applied to a few myself, obviously. There's another option that I didn't explore quite thoroughly, and honestly, it's something I regret, but see if your school has any, because I know my school offered plenty, but I didn't know about it so much later, so I missed a lot of the deadlines. But I still got some time to get some in. But there are great scholarships that if you play sports in your school, right, even if you didn't like get like what do you call a scholarship from your college for playing that sport, I know my high school offered a lot of scholarships to people who are on like lacrosse teams or basketball teams. And if you play any of those sports, see if your school has any, because I know my school offered a lot, and I don't know if every high school has the same amount, but try and ask around, like go to your counselor, go to the athletics department if you play a sport, or see if your club has any. Because I know that I did FIRST robotics. I don't know if anyone here does that as well, but FIRST is another great one if you're going into engineering. They have a lot of scholarships there too. So
I think another thing I'll add along with what Sarthak said is I think our community is very involved with speech and debate. And there's a lot of really good speech and debate institutes and educational universities out there that are now providing scholarships for students who have not only demonstrate excellence, but have a interest in pursuing it in the college realm. So maybe directly reach out to I know Gonzaga University has one, University of Michigan has one, so some really good schools are providing opportunities for kids to continue doing their speech and debate work, and of course having their education subsidized a little bit as well. So look into that too. I know the greater Indian community is very involved in speech and debate. So if there's a part of you that wants to continue it, you can also get paid for it a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So someone asked, is it a good idea to start a passion project to strengthen your college application? How can we go about starting one?
So I personally never I tried and started I would recommend social media presence as a great passion project to pursue. Especially if you're into like whatever you're into, try and center maybe an Instagram account or Facebook account if you're still into that. But I know a lot of my friends they started their own side businesses and side hustles, and those can actually be really beneficial on the Common App. I know my friend who wants to go into an econ major, and he wants to do that. He started his own Instagram business, and it really took off. He was basically buying and reselling shoes and other products, and it really helped him. And I think he's going to WPI now. So he, I guess, and that was something that he put on his Common App. He told me, and I think that it probably did help, because if you're going into something like business, starting your own side hustle is definitely something that would help.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So in addition to what Sarthik said, starting your own kind of side hustle is good. I've heard a lot of people who've done that too and put it on their Common App. But another thing some people in my grade did was they they emailed professors at universities they were interested in to see if they could kind of hop onto any sort of research opportunities they had. Or you could email startups. For me personally, I emailed a few startups, and I got rejected from a lot of them because I was a high school student looking to help them with their research. But I got accepted at one called IDX Insights, and over there I was kind of able to learn more about fintech and see what they do. And that was kind of a pretty big thing on my Common App, because I feel like it helped show colleges my interest in the field, and it shows them how you kind of take initiative for your interests. So along with doing side hustles and side businesses, you should kind of maybe email professors or startups for a passion project.
I think it's also kind of what Yash said, it shows the initiative and shows your passion for things. But that's the thing, it's a passion project because it's a passion. So make sure it's something that you're actually interested in. So when you go to interviews, you can talk about it and talk about the things you did, the things you liked about it, instead of, they ask you this question, the only thing you can say is, yeah, it was something cool. It was fun. You want to be able to elaborate on it, show that you're actually excited about it and why you liked it. So not just for the application, but because it's something that you genuinely have an interest in. I think that's important to also focus on.
Yeah, it's also important to rationalize how you're going to continue that project going into college, because it'll be abundantly clear to people that you started this up your spring semester, or maybe your fall semester of your senior year. And a question that is very likely is how do you continue this in college? How do you build upon it? What resources at our school are you going to take advantage of to continue doing this? Because that's the fit between the schools, right? Academically, yeah, sure, but what else are you bringing to the school with their own kind of lives that you're doing that will not only help the school, but then also the school can elevate your work as well. So make sure you have a good kind of maybe a year plus plan as to what you're doing with your passion project.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So is it mandatory to choose a major first year into college?
I knew a couple people who went into their first semester just like declared as undecided. And so it's not mandatory. Like I would suggest that you try to pick one before, but like you could always like try out a couple of different classes like your first semester. Like first semester anyways, like for me, it was really just like couple of like my major courses, but a lot of them were like gen ed and like English and stuff. So like just courses that everyone has to do. So it wasn't like a big deal. Like it wouldn't like put you back, but and like the people I knew that were undecided, like their first semester, like they still graduated on time and everything, and like everything worked out. But yeah, so you can go undecided, but try like to figure it out before like the end of first year, first semester.
I think it also depends on colleges. Like for my college, it was okay. You didn't have to decide on a major until the end of yours, like the first semester of sophomore year. I think it's also important to just like find out how easy it is to like change majors. If like say you decide on a major really early on, and you end up like not liking it, just knowing like the process of how you can change, and then also just like what your colleges or like whatever college you decide on whether they require you to have it at the freshman year or if they want you to have it towards the end of sophomore year. So just like researching up more on that will give you more peace of mind.
I think there's a difference between declaring your major and pursuing it. So I think across the different schools within the university, so like School of Engineering. So at my school, if you want to do biomedical engineering, you're gonna have to start as soon as you can. You might have to declare it, but declare it to the school that yes, I am doing this. But it's not like you can do something else and then come back to the biomedical engineering part. So I think you have to look at like what you're interested in, like the different schools. Like School of Engineering, most of those engineerings take up at least 3 years with the credits. So work towards it, at least so that you can declare it down the road. But no, I guess if that's not for you, then you can maybe pivot to something that requires less credits, and you can still accomplish that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Does playing sports help with getting into a good college?
So as a swimmer, I would say that if you get into a college and you get into like this college team, like you send in like a recruitment form and they're like, yeah, you're great. We want to have you on our team. We'll even give you a scholarship. Let's say you make a D1 college. Obviously that is going to help big time, right? Because now you have scholarship money. Part of your tuition is being paid. So yes, in that aspect, it will help. But even if you're not like me, I was not the fastest swimmer, so I didn't get into a college that was offering me any scholarships for swimming. So instead, it does. But when you put it on your Common App, it shows that obviously it's an extracurricular, and it shows that you put in time and dedication into something that you loved, especially if you did it over a long period of time. And even though you weren't like the greatest at it, it's still something you did, if you know what I mean. And it's not obviously what do you call it, a waste if you don't do it later on, but it's just another extracurricular you can put down, so it shows up as that. And it will help because it's another thing that you have to commit time to. So if your grades are like good, it shows that yeah, you were doing all of these extracurriculars and you still had good grades, like how to manage your time, stuff like that.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else who was in sports? That's all right. So to get into a college with a major of bioscience, what are good courses to take in high school? Any APs or anything?
So for me, like I did molecular and cellular biology. So I did like AP biology and like I did like all of the sciences, but I still had to like retake them in college, because like if you're majoring in like biology, they won't like accept your AP scores, or at least for my college they didn't. Like you still have to take the same courses again.
Okay.
But
Thank
it
you so
helped,
much.
like it helps for like the college courses. Like it definitely helped prepare for like difficulty level.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. Does anybody else?
Real quick, I would definitely encourage to take stats. Like stats is big. In high school, you take AP stats, normal stats. That is turning into a very core class across all majors, regardless where school you're going to, because everyone needs stats to, take in the world. So definitely take stats.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So what are some good organizations to complete my high school volunteer hours from?
For me, like at my high school, I had a Red Cross club, and like that's pretty much where I got all of my volunteer hours for. Like we had different volunteer events like almost every single week. So I would just like participate in all of those.
Yeah, for me, like a few clubs, like one club I was in was like UNICEF Club. We had multiple volunteer opportunities throughout the year from them too. Like there's like this little Halloween kind of fundraiser we would have, so you could always get hours from that as well. So like just depends on the clubs offered by your school.
All right. Perfect. So on what basis do teachers and staff choose to give a student a scholarship?
I guess I'd say it's based on kind of what the scholarship, like what the program is like looking for. So if you apply to one kind of related to whatever your passion or your interest is, they want to see like what sort of how you've sort of like developed or kind of like developed your interest in that field. Like show like what incentive that you took to pursue it and kind of what characteristics you have that best embodies the candidate that they want for that scholarship.
Okay, perfect. So if anybody has any more questions, that'd be great. You guys can text them in the chat. I have some questions here. What can I do? What is something I can do to stand out during college apps?
One thing I guess you could do to stand out is kind of I know some people in my grade they started clubs. So when you start a club, it kind of like it can be in anything. Like I know my school offered multiple sort of clubs. Like there's like a psychology club, a brain bee club. Someone started a calligraphy club. So anything you're passionate about and like whatever sort of club you're interested in, it'll help show that you have like leadership, drive, and then like your specific passion, whether it be like in humanities, art, STEMs, anything. So that's one thing that could help you stand out.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else?
To add on to what Yash said, I think if you can move beyond like the confines of your school into whatever you're passionate about, so like if you're in the med world, maybe trying to work hands-on with a doctor, like shadow them or something like that. But maybe go a little bit beyond shadowing so that you can build up a better relationship with them. Because if you can like learn how they do their thing day to day and kind of help them with whatever they're going on, they can really share their wisdom about what's happening, and then maybe you can get a letter of rec from them. Getting a letter of rec from a professional in the field is I think equally as important as getting a letter of rec from your your teachers. I think the same thing happens with like I think like Yash said that he started working he interned at a tech company. You can intern at any organization. And if you're working with professionals within those organizations, you can build up pretty good relationships, and then they can speak to like your capacity to operate as a independent person on a team or whatever that your teachers will never be able to do because they don't see in that light. So I think those are ways that you can stand out. That um, those aren't your day-to-day kind of things that you will see in high school. So try to pursue those things and network with professionals who can maybe speak about you.
So thank you so much. How do you guys think you created a social life in college? This is mainly for people who went out of state, or even if you were in state and a little away from your parents. How do you think you created a social life? Because some people say that they have problems with like meeting new people in different places, and that I don't know, it's just not a good question. So if there's no answer for that, it's all right.
I well, like I haven't really been on campus yet, but what I've heard from like people older than me is like kind of join as many clubs or like student organizations as you can, because joining those can help you meet more people and kind of build your network and like your friend circle at ASU. And plus, like you'll probably meet a lot of people in all the classes you take, like different people, different classes. So that would be another, I guess, way.
Yeah, that, and then also just like when I was at Vanderbilt, we would have like floor activities, or like the school would host activities, and like don't be a hobo, like go see all these different things, go to different activities, go to the dances, you'll get to see different people, meet different people outside of just your classroom, people out of your majors. I think just making sure to go to the different things that the school is hosting is also a good idea.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So what is something you guys regretted doing or regretted not doing? Like, what is something you wish you did during college? So whether it be like schedule change or like having your schedule not fit you or anything like that.
I think I think it's hard because as you're a freshman or sophomore, it's hard to maybe get into like the professional world and get these experiences. But I would definitely encourage like as early as you can, even into your freshman year, your summer, or summer of your freshman year, if you're in engineering or tech or anything. Definitely like even if the internship isn't at a glamorous place, I would definitely encourage to like go pursue those opportunities as early as possible. Because you just want to see how you just want to see like how your academic coursework is aligning with what you'd be doing in your professional life, so that you can kind of like tailor it, and then also moving forward you can be like, okay, this is what I like took away from my internship. Now this is the class I want to take to like build upon that. So that's something I would definitely encourage is try to like align your academic coursework with your professional experiences so that they can inform each other reciprocally.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Leave the meeting?
Sorry. Someone say anything? Any more questions anyone else has? You guys can type in the chat. You guys can say more specific questions.
Also, if anyone has any questions just in general, you can unmute your screen and share.
Also, first, I have a question for study abroad. So, do you guys think it's a good idea? I mean, if your peers or people around you have gone and studied abroad, do you think it benefited them? And how do you think it benefited them?
So I studied abroad for the summer in Spain. For me, just like personally, it benefited because I did like a Spanish minor, and so like I was able to get most of my like minor completed while I was there. Like I did like AP Spanish in high school, so I only needed like 3 more classes, so I just like studied abroad. It's like a really good experience. It depends like I know a couple people that did it for the semester, but that can be really tricky, especially if you're like a STEM major. Like they don't, most colleges don't offer study abroads that like will give you options to like do classes in STEM. So you'll be behind a semester. But if you're a STEM major, like if you study abroad in the summer, like it's a really good experience and it won't like stop you from graduating on time.
And then also, how did you find these, like how did you study abroad? Like, what did you do to?
So like University of Arizona, like they have their own like study abroad programs. It's just like through the college. So they had a bunch. They had like a ton like all over Europe, and they had a couple like in South America. Like I know a girl that was in Costa Rica for a semester. So just like whatever school you're at, like they're gonna have their own study abroad programs.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I did one too. I would strongly encourage. So I was in mental health, of course. So I went to Amsterdam and saw a different world with how they operate their mental health and the policies they have and how they take care. So like whatever field you're in, I can almost guarantee you that it's completely different in a significant way, at least in a different context because of different societal makeups. At least in Europe, it's a little bit more homogenous. So you can really see how like people approach different problems that you're interested in, and you can bring that back and do a bit of like a comparative thing, and you can learn from what they do, and maybe they can learn from what you do. So I would definitely encourage to do with at least like a few weeks, say, bro, maybe like a winter break if the semester is too much.
Okay, perfect. So much. Any more questions? If you guys have any questions, please type them in the chat.
I think I saw one question about seems like SATs are optional for this upcoming academic cycle because of the pandemic and accessibility concerns. So I think someone asked, is it, even if it's optional, should I submit the scores? My GPA is a better reflection of who I am. So yeah.
Honestly, I heard this from like a counselor who obviously this year, since they were or like for 2021 graduates, it was optional. If you think that your SAT is not like, because obviously some like colleges during their applications process, they will like not even consider you if your SAT is below a certain level. So if you still want to apply and try your shot at a college where you don't think your SAT is necessarily one that would get you in, don't send it. Like it's what so many of my counselors and so many like third party like college advisors have told me is that if you don't think that your SAT is a good reflection of who you are and it doesn't meet that college's standards, but your GPA might, don't send it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Any more questions, guys? And what tips do you guys have for getting good grades in college?
I think it's the same thing that you're doing in high school, except probably at a higher degree. Being very disciplined with your time management is the key to grades. Smartness, talent, all that stuff is like sure it plays a factor, but being on top of your homework, being on top of your assignments, and also being transparent with your professors about your your shortcomings. Like, hey, like I couldn't hit this deadline, or hey, like I'm really struggling with this assignment. Don't be embarrassed to go to office hours or take, meet your TA, teaching assistants. No one cares. In that moment, you might feel embarrassed. Oh my God, like I feel like I'm the only one that needs help on this orgo chemistry thing if you're in pre-med. But I think it's just at the end of the day, it's gonna impact you the most, and you're the owner of your grades and your future. So if you can push aside what that thoughts of what others might say and how you're perceived, then it'll translate into better grades, or at least the decency of mind, like the peace of mind that you tried.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else?
And then also just off of that, having the insight to see, oh, I didn't do well on the chemistry test, then okay, maybe I need to change something instead of doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result.
And you can also ask for extra credit. Like, even though extra credits are not posted in the syllabi of your classes, if you reach out to professors and you have indicated that, or you've demonstrated that you're really working hard and you're not doing as well as you'd like, ask them like, hey, is there something I can do on the side to boost up my grades a little bit? Just because it's not written on the syllabus doesn't mean that the teachers won't entertain that. Or maybe ask like, hey, can I do like a makeup thing to increase my exam grade on this thing? Those things happen all the time that I wasn't aware of as I was navigating pre-med, but I saw other people do it. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any advice for tackling AP classes, especially in junior year?
One thing I'd say is kind of get on top of APs as quick as possible, because like, especially like for my school, I took 7 APs in junior year, and it can get pretty hectic. So kind of like start preparing for them earlier than usual, and set like certain time blocks that you want to kind of like focus on a specific exam. Like if you want to focus on Calc PC, focus on that for a few days and move on to like European history, or like, kind of whatever works best for you, to help you get the best score on your APs.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's see, any more questions? Do you guys have any tips for like research? Where can we go look for research? How can we show on applications where that, like, how much time we did on research? Does that matter? Like, what matters when you do research?
Yeah, I think time doesn't matter. Just because you can be doing very small tasks and extending the time on them. But what I'll say is, for those of you who are interested in research, being able to use like describe succinctly what you're doing. So like if you're a research assistant and you help with writing a grant for a study, for example, just say that. Use action words to say what you did. You don't need to like say I did it for 10 hours or whatever. People are more interested in the concrete things that you did in like 3 or 4 bullet points across different research labs or research projects or whatever. And if it's like something significant, make sure you write that as well. Don't be modest. I would not encourage you to be modest, especially if you're part of some really cool research stuff, as I know many of you are. And if you want, you can also like write down the grants that the research is a part of, so that if someone wants to like look into what you're doing, they can like look that up as well. But again, and then the last thing is like, if research is something you really want to highlight, push that up to the top of your CV or resume. Make sure that's like right after your grades and your education. You can have that, your grades and your education, then you can have your research, and then you can have your extracurriculars. So that when someone's looking at your thing for maybe a minute, they can see that, hey, this person has done his research, and this is what he wants to show us. So that's what I would say.
Perfect.
Sorry, yeah, just another thing I kind of wanted to add on to that was like, there's a lot of opportunities for students to get published in like research journals. So in the chat, I've posted like a few links where you could possibly get published. I know, like, and you could also like look into colleges. Like certain colleges have research journals where they publish high school students or college students. So like there's the Journal of like High School Research, the International Journal of High School Research. I'm pretty sure Boston University has their own journal. So if you're like really interested in something and you've kind of like written like a whole kind of paper on it and you think it's like, you want to publish it and kind of get it out there in the world, then it's definitely kind of like worth it looking into these opportunities.
No, that's a really important point by Yash, because most people, 95% plus people, will not be publishing in like academic journals, at least at high school stage. So don't let that limit you. Like pursue these opportunities like in these high school journals as well. And also, I would also say that um, they don't have to be these peer-reviewed journals. I would definitely encourage people who are passionate about getting the work out, use something like Medium.com, like that blogging site. Use like a blog type of like a mechanism to like get your work out there, so that if you are wanting to submit your work and they're like, hey, you've not never done anything, how do we know you can write well? You can be like, hey, I've written this on Medium, I've done this. So that can, again, like not only does that make you a better writer, no better way to be a better writer and write, but also to demonstrate people that this is what I wrote, I think it was written well, this is how many people read it, this is how it was circulated, stuff like that. So those are all things that you can do that shows that you've taken initiative, even if you weren't dealt the right cards, but like being able to be accessible to like universities and stuff like that, or professors.
Perfect. What should I look for when visiting college campuses? Sorry. What should I look for when visiting college campuses?
So to be honest, when you visit a college, you just kind of look for what you like, because like you're visiting the college, like first off, you made the decision to visit this college. So if it's a college that's really far away, you want to make sure that like it's probably going to be a college that you are looking forward to going to, right? So when you tour the college, really try and look at the things that feel like you, if you know what I mean. Like find places that you see when you're there, because like during the pandemic, I was limited in the options of where college tours were open, and they slowly started opening up towards like after all the applications went in. So I only toured colleges to like eliminate the ones I didn't want to go to. So that's, but when I went there, I basically just like looked for the things that made me feel like that would make me feel happy if I went there. So don't try and find the negatives when you visit the college. Try and look at the things that you would like if you were to go there, right? And then in the end, find which college has the most of those things. And then that's the college that I would say, like, then you would like finalize and like, pay the deposit for.
Perfect.
I think something I'll add here too real quick is definitely do the tour guide of, or like do the tour of the school from a like certified tour guide. Obviously because they know the school better than you, but then more so you can just see how they engage with you and how the aura they give off. Like, do they really want to be here? How they're interacting with the others on the campus. That's big. And also like Sartik said, like visit the things that you like at the school. So like if you're interested in engineering, visit the engineering school. See how they've like established their department. What opportunities are they presenting to undergrads within the halls of the department? Is it like very obvious that they're really giving all these opportunities to the students? Like, do this, check this out, be a research assistant here, take this class type stuff. To do that, and then also visit the career center. See how they've set up their students to succeed after their institution, after they leave the institution. Like, talk to them like, hey, what are some of the things that you have in place that you provide to your students to help them succeed? Like, see how they answer your questions about like, where do people go after the school? Well, what companies are they working for? Stuff like that. So I think those are some of the departments that will be open to you. Obviously, you can't check out everything, but I think that gives you a good indication of the type of school you'll be at for the next 4 years and what you can be on. I think we had something to say. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can just like also like ask people that are walking around, ask them how they're liking it at the college, what their favorite things are, and they'll be more accurately able to tell you how they like it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is the last question. How important are grades in the large scheme of things for college apps? Is it better to not have is it better to not have perfect grades but excel more at extracurriculars? Should I repeat the question? Is it better to not have perfect grades but excel more in extracurriculars?
To be blunt, yes. I think it's definitely serves you better to do better in extracurriculars than have perfect grades. Just because I guess the perceptions that a lot of colleges have or high schools that I guess I should say colleges might have is that if you are getting perfect grades, maybe you're not taking the most challenging classes. That's like a maybe more of a pessimistic view about it. And also a lot of colleges just want you to like do your best, like to sustain a respectable grade point average. Let's say 3.6, 3.7. That's good enough. Good enough in that like it gives you enough time to do your other things that you need to do. If we try to maintain a 4.0, there's only 24 hours. What's your ability to do your extracurriculars to the same like level of like passion and like time and dedication? So I think any school would want a well-rounded person as opposed to someone who is really just all about the grades because you only have so much time in the day.
All right, perfect. Would Mr. Lakshmi Hipati Singh would you like to say a couple words, a few words to the youth?
Yes, I think you all are doing outstanding job. And first, I like to yes, congratulate him for his graduation and other kids who graduated that, whom I don't know. And I think this is the good idea. You are getting together and knowing each other or getting help. And I'll say that again, you are doing the outstanding job. And so keep up with that. Thank you.
And then the president of the organization hosting this session would also like to say a few words, Ms. Rambanti. Mrs. Rambanti.
Namaste everyone. Good afternoon, all my young stars. And thank you, Bhai Sahab, for your kind words for our lovely youth. First of all, uh, I don't want to take much time and really heartily, we all appreciate your guys' hard work and efforts and keep doing uh, like that work for community and thank you again. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Natasha, we can wrap up the session here if you want to.
Let's wrap this up. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much, the panelists, as well as the audience. These are some great questions. Hopefully, we were able to share some insights about the whole process with you. I think there's some really great responses that you might not find online. So definitely, hopefully you took some notes about what everyone shared. And there's a Facebook page. If you'd like to join that, we can post some resources there. But we have your emails as well that which we can distribute some of the scholarship stuff and anything else. But thank you so much. Yeah. If you don't have an email, you can join the page. And last thing I'll say is best of luck with the process. Don't be too hard on yourself. it's been pandemic is making everything harder. So that ripple effect will still be felt. So best of luck and do the best you can.
Very
All right.
good session. We appreciate.
All right. Thank you,
You
everyone.
guys did fabulous job. Thanks
Bye.
again.